There we go. Now we're rolling. This is it. Episode 472 of No Laugh Track Podcast. My name is Justin Severson. Get to host this each and every week with a headlining comedian. Sometimes they're people that I see annually. Sometimes they're people I see every other year. Is that biannual? I don't know. Or is that twice a year? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not that bright. But what I do know is this is I think the third time, Dave Fulton, that you have been in town to do this podcast. And I've been looking forward to it.
Fourth, maybe?
Fourth, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, but the last one we did was in 2019, and here we are in 2022. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Did anything worth talking about last couple of years?
In the last 3 years? Oh, wow.
You were here. We did see each other. You were here for the 30th anniversary.
30th anniversary show.
Acme's 30th anniversary was last year. Had some big shows.
That was great. That was great. Yeah, we all did because I live in London, so there's all the old COVID tests, and, I got all the vaccination. I had that documentation, and then it's great because Lewis goes, okay, here's the money to come over. And, of course, if you live, like, over there, hey, I put a grand in my pocket here. But when you live in London, when I went home, I was 200 pounds in the hole, But you know what? I'd have doubled that. It was so great to gig with everybody. And the bill I was on with John DeBoer, Ryan Stout, and Chad Daniels. And I was like, oh, shit, right? But I went on third. And it was fun, and Chad had to follow, and he was complaining, and just to make me feel better. But I mean, I love Chad. Don't get me wrong. But what's funny? It came up, because social media is hardwired into your brain and your secret thoughts, and so I must have thought, Chad, what's his name again? And they're like, oh, here's a video, and so I'm like, oh yeah. So I watched a little bit of Chad on whatever, like Instagram or Twitter or something. I don't know. Right?
Sure.
And, of course, it was great, him just messing around, him just being Chad. And then and suddenly, the metaverse kind of went, well, look at this guy. If you like Chad Daniels, look at this guy, look at this guy, look at this guy. And it's like all these other comedians I never heard of who don't even come fucking close to Chad Daniels. They're like, what about this guy? And, and it's almost you want to, like, send this message going, look, I really love Chad, but I can't help these other guys. All right?
You got to link them to somebody else.
Yeah,
on their
stop
level.
it. Why are they swinging off his coattails? Because yeah, and I'm sure he doesn't even know it, the fact that people are like, who are you like? I'm like Chad Daniels. Okay, we'll put that in the...
I thought that you were going to go, and then eventually it hit to you.
No, never.
Yeah.
No, never. No, the only thing... What happens is if you start watching enough police videos where there are shootouts, then it goes to my comments.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
There we go.
Then it goes.
They introduced you when you came on stage last night as an American living in London.
That's correct.
22 years? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I've been there 22 years. I had no career goals. It never occurred to me that I'd be stuck on that cold, wet island for this long. But, here I am. And,
What interesting timing that you're here when it's the center of the, pop culture universe going on back there right now.
Yeah.
With the Queen.
With the Queen cacking and all. That was crazy. You know what's weird about that is, I've been watching a few Twitter feeds and this and that from, like, Lord Kilmartin and some other people, and and they're kind of going, oh, come on, get over it, what's wrong, and but I got to tell you, man, living there, it's because she's always been there. 9 out of 10 people in the UK have never known her not to be the monarch.
Right.
And so with her gone, it literally feels like there is a gap. There's a space missing that can never be filled again. And for right or wrong, she she rocked it, and she handled the Prince Andrew thing amazingly well. She stripped him of all of his titles.
Yeah.
And Andrew was kind of, and a lot of people wanted his head, and of course they paid out the whatever, but that's what royalty does. You did this, yeah, here's some cash, and and so that just all went by the wayside. And then the thing with Harry and Meghan, I'm dropping my title and whatever, which I'm sure Meghan went, you're what? But
well, I grew up wanting to be a princess. What are you doing
here?
No.
Yeah, the Queen dies. She starts thinking, "Oh, Harry, we're 2 away." But she kind of had a reconciliation with that, and she passed it on to Charles, and So yeah, now yeah, she's gone. It's pretty crazy.
Living over there, have you ever, participated, witnessed any of the, like the royal pageantry?
No,
in public?
I'm not much for that. And I think it's there's an argument that they're freeloaders and all the space is being wasted, and the monarchy it's a dinosaur. But
Turn it into a museum.
Yeah, all that. Look at Buckingham Palace. It could be flats. It could be this. But they do generate, when she was alive, generated a tremendous amount of tourist money. And so there is that argument. But but no, I never did. It was funny. The only brush with royalty I ever had was probably about 12 years ago. I had to do this, Vox taping, this location thing. We went around to some graveyards, myself and a camera guy and a sound guy. And so we were at some amazing cemeteries and some other places. So we're in front of Buckingham Palace. And I'm just we're going someplace else, and we're kind of bagging the royals. Look at the size of this pile. I mean, do you really need all this? And the land around it, I know it's St. James Park, but couldn't you kind of cheat it with this or maybe that? And we're like, we're like, fuck the royals, and all that kind of attitude. And then we're standing trying to cross the road right by the big Queen Victoria statue thing at the center, and this car pulls up in front of us, like a limo or whatever, and we look down and literally like arms reach away behind the window. It's Prince Charles.
Oh.
And my friend and I, Vinny and I, we both looked at him. We just like, yeah, fuck the royals. Huh. And he looks over and just goes, hello.
What?
Like just waves to us, right? Just smiles and waves to us. And we all kind of went, hi. Suddenly we went from never mind the Buzzcocks, we're the Sex Pistols, to like, hi.
Oh my God, that was him, right?
Yeah, full on hypocrites kind of thing, So, but she had, the Queen had an amazing sense of humor. There was a great story. A friend of mine told who was there when it happened. The deal is when you meet the Queen, you got to turn off your phone and everything else. Obviously, it's a courtesy.
Yeah.
So this buddy of mine is there, and she's meeting some people from the community, doing some obviously some community work, and while she's talking to him, this guy's phone rings. It's like ringing, and you realize, oh, it's my phone. So he reaches in and he pulls the phone out to turn it off, looks down to see what it is, turns the phone off, puts it back in his pocket, and she leans in and she goes, was it anybody important?
Wow.
Yeah, kind of like, hello.
Have you used that in a comedy club ever? You could steal that line from her when someone's phone rings in the audience.
Oh, usually I kind of usually you just can't hear the phone ring, and I'm like, I've taken the phone. We have all done the worst possible thing you can.
Take it and then, who is this? You know what you're doing right now?
Oh, I remember doing the old Seattle Comedy Underground, and it was below Swanee's Sports Bar, and the phone rang. I don't know how they got a signal down there. It's in a basement.
Here, similar.
Yeah, and so the phone rang, and I grabbed it from him, and I went, I can't talk to her about this and that. And there was a weekly paper called The Stranger, and in the back had all these, dial, 1-900 sex calls, and I got.
Sure.
So I got the paper, and I dialed one of the hardcore gay ones, and I pressed one, and just put it on the stool, and left it there for a half hour. No. Yeah. No, can I have my phone back? No. No. Yeah. And they thought it was funny because they didn't think I did it. And then I got to hear my phone back, and of course,
Hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fantastic. I looked a little bit about the Queen. She's lying in state right now.
Yeah.
Dave, lying in state until Monday.
And people were parading by. And it's funny because some of the people were doing curtsies, and I'm like, she's dead. Why are you doing a curtsy? She's dead. Did you see that one of the guards fell over?
Yes. Fainted overnight.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. So I love the quote. It says, I took a quote here from a story about that. Guards in ceremonial uniforms posted around the podium in the constant vigil.
They're on 6-hour shifts, 6-hour shifts.
One fainted overnight in a sign of the toll standing vigils can take.
Yeah.
Oh, how dramatic.
Yeah.
Standing vigils can be very dangerous. Watch out.
The thing is, if you're guarding the Queen, you're a pawn, right? So I saw that, and I kept waiting for who took him out? The rook?
Right.
Was it a bishop?
Yeah, that's right.
It's a chess joke. Right there, it's a chess joke.
That is. Come on, nerds, get the chess joke.
Yeah, come on. It's a Bobby Fischer thing.
Oh, that's very funny. 3.5 mile wait to say goodbye.
Yeah.
3.5 miles.
I know. Yeah, and you got to figure there's probably somebody at the end of this going, we get to see Princess die too, right? Yeah.
You weren't there when she died. No, that was long.
Yes, I was. That was crazy because I was my first time over to the UK, and I blame that on Greg Proops and Mitch Hedberg.
Oh.
And
why not?
Yeah, well, I mean, seriously, because Greg Proops was in Edinburgh in '96. I saw him in January of '97, and he was complaining about playing the. I'll get to the story eventually. Playing the Meadows, and they paid him a flat fee, but he goes, next time I'm gonna take the door and I'm gonna put my friends on. I go, hey man, if I show up, will you put me on? He's like, yeah. And so he goes, call me. I'll give you all the names and numbers you have if you're serious. I'm like, yeah. So I did all that. And then Hedberg went over in '96, and he did the show called Live at Junglers, and which was a bit of a rough show, and I did it. It wasn't great. So he came back, and I asked him, I go, hey, Mitch, and this is beginning of '97, right? I go, hey, Mitch, how was, the first couple of months of '97? I go, how was London? How was it, man? And I've known Mitch a long time, He opened for me for a while. I saw one of his first times on stage at a place called Bailey's Comedy Penthouse in Bellevue. And I criticized him, and he got mad at me. And anyway, so we had a bit of a contentious relationship till the very end. But I once again miss him terribly. So I said, how was London? And he goes, oh, man, I didn't think they were getting my jokes. I think what I was doing was above their head. It made them think too much. They wanted simple comedy. Then he paused and went, you should go there. It's pretty good. So, yeah, anyway, he gave me the number of this guy named John Keyes who worked out all the work papers and the visas and stuff, because he went through them.
Sure.
And that's how I ended up. So I go there in '97. I show up in London. I go up to Edinburgh, do a couple sets for Greg. It was amazing. I mean, back then, it wasn't the pressure they have now. You could go up there and kind of mess around. It was very open, very free. Very, very fringy and not so much business-like. And then came down to London. I did a show. I did a set at the Comedy Store in London on Friday. Went well. Guy booked me right then. When are you coming back? I had no intention of coming back. So I went, I don't know, February? And he went, all right. So he gave me a weekend in February. Went off to this other club. Didn't go well. Went out drinking with this Scottish guy named Jeff Boyce, who's a terminal alcoholic. And I was so hammered. So the next day, vomiting all day, finally got up, did another show that night at the same club, and complained about how much I hate this guy for getting me drunk. And then the crowd went for it because I was making fun of this Scottish drunk guy who they all knew.
Okay.
So the next morning, I get up. It's a Sunday morning. I get up, and I'm staying at this, hostel accommodation, student accommodation thing. And I get up, and I go, man, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. But I think I want a newspaper, So I went to this place called W.H. Smith's, which sells a newspaper right next to the coffee place. And that's when I saw it, just like rows and rows, and just Princess died dead, accident, Paris, blah, blah, blah. And I went, oh, my God, like that. And this English woman next to me leans over, and she puts her hand on my shoulder, and she goes, you didn't know? And I'm like, no. She goes, it's so tragic. I'm like, oh, God. So I grabbed a bunch of papers, started reading all the papers, going, wow, this is amazing. This is like history. Okay, where do I go? In London, it's history. Well, you got to go to Buckingham Palace. So I went to Buckingham Palace. All the flowers are getting lined up. So I went to a florist, no flowers. I went to a little bit further out. And just like a simple bouquet might have been like £2, was now like 20, right? So I went up to the bouquet, up to where all the things are, and a friend of mine goes, so what'd you do? Did you, you had to offer something? I said, well, I tried doing a set, but toughest crowd ever. But I remember up on the fountains, the Queen Victoria fountains, and there was this Italian guy, and he goes, are they going to bring her here? And I'm like, bring who? He goes, the princess. Are they going to bring Diana? Are they going to bring her here? It's like the day, she died that night. Yeah. And I went, yeah, they're going to swing her by later.
In the whole car too.
Yeah, the whole thing, man. Oh, grazie. So yeah, he's probably still there. Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty amazing. And people got really upset about that because, she was the candle in the wind and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And
I was seeing about how there's a big,
which by the way, I can't help to think that the Queen Mom, the Queen, she gets up to heaven, and Princess Diana looks over and goes, "Oh Christ, really, really?"
I saw there was debate on whether the shows should go on this week and Monday.
It's weird on the because it happened on a Thursday, and I did a show that night in Ealing. This was a part of a neighborhood in London, and it was for the Comedy Store because they do these satellite shows, these one-nighter shows, and it was myself and 2 other comedians, and we all died. We all died in our hats, but it wasn't because of that. It was a small. I don't know what it was. I mean, they just were not. I mean, I literally closed the show with, "Please don't follow me on social media," and walked off. And then this couple came up to me and it's like, "We're huge fans. Oh my God, can we not follow you?" And I'm like, "All right, all right." So and then on a Friday night, I did a show in Essex, and I got a hold of the guy who runs the show. His name is Patty Lennox, and I go, "Hey, Patty, are you still doing a show tonight?" "Oh yeah, I forgot. You're Irish. Of course you are." But he pops back with, he goes, "Yeah, but I'm Protestant, so, we're royalists." But he did have a show, and God bless him. I said, "I don't really want to hang out." It's like it was an hour and a half on the motorcycle, and he goes, "I'll put you on first." So I'm like, "All right, fine." And we all got paid the same, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So before the show starts, he said, and it's this really great room he runs, and it's a great Dummauer, I think it's called. English have the weirdest names for rooms and towns. And he goes, "Before we start the show, we would ask everybody if we could have a minute silence in honor of the Queen. You can stand or sit." And 300 people just went, just stood up, and boom. And it was chilling. It was chilling. Everybody bowed their head. I was like, wow. And that's what all the theaters were doing, too, is they were like giving a minute silence for the Queen, or 2 minutes, depending. And then it came down, and Patty told this great story about meeting the Queen. He was just 14 years old, and he had to hold the door open for her to walk out on stage. And they said, "Okay, now." So he holds the door open, and the music doesn't start. And he's standing there, and the Queen is like inches from him with Prince Philip. And she goes, "Oh, I don't know what the problem is." And the guy goes, like this. And then she goes, "Maybe nobody showed up." Right? And then she goes, "We should probably start paying our taxes."
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how she was, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, so
Acme should have booked her.
So yeah, I know.
Could have given her a guest set.
But there was a lot of shows that canceled, a lot of shows, and there was a lot of comics who were going, and they canceled the football, the soccer as well, which I thought was.
Doug Stanhope is over there right now.
Doug's over there.
Monday. They've postponed it to Tuesday. Everybody, if you have tickets to Doug Stanhope in England or London somewhere.
Yeah, there is. He's going to be in London on, I think it's Sunday and Monday, and one of them sold out. God bless him, but. As a matter of fact, but I get in Monday, I'll be jet lagged, I'm not going to go out and that. And so I put on Twitter, he's like, "Here's what I said, "I'm sorry, I won't be around. I'll be out of the country till then, so I'm going to miss our tradition, our ritual of both getting on stage and getting our balls shaved." And you click like on it. So, but a buddy of mine wanted to see one of his shows, and I can't remember what it was, maybe Manchester or London. And he went through a ticket outlet, and they were £411 for one ticket. And some of the others go, "Well, I bought my tickets like 3 years ago and paid £40 a piece," but they kept putting it off.
Sure.
So he's getting. He's commanding big money for it. Do I think he deserves it? I don't think anybody deserves that kind of money, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, they were charging the money they were charging for Chappelle and Chris Rock, who were just over there, but they were with Jeff.
That's right.
They were with Jeff Ross and some other people.
Yeah.
And I guess the show was amazing. But, come on.
I was just a friend of mine saw Chappelle in Minneapolis within the last 10 years. And he was just telling me the other night, he's like, "Yeah, it was $80." And I go, "Oh, yeah, when he was here a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, they were $150."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
things have changed.
Yeah, things have changed a lot. But Doug's over there digging it, and he's kicking it, and his manager, Brian, who not a fan of, but Doug, he picks up strays, and Brian seems to be doing him a good job. So whatever. What do you get onto it? I mean, I love Doug. I haven't seen Doug in years, but I sent him. There's a alternative radical gallery called L13 in London, and they put out a calendar every year, and it says, "Will you die this year?" And on every month they'll have a little red kind of circle, and they'll circle random days on every month. Will you die this year? Here are some suggestions.
Why?
And I send him that calendar every year. But he's never once said thank you, but he's never told me to stop. So I sent him the counter every week.
I hope there's a room in his house that's just the walls are covered in these.
I probably got
calendars.
fucking Fulton. He probably just throws them.
It could. He's regifting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
There's someone someplace else going, yeah, Doug Stanhope gives me these calendars every year. I don't know why.
see, I remember Doug in the early. I remember coming down to Swanee's Comedy Underground in Seattle, and you come down the stairs and you make a left, and you're at the desk, and you can see the stage. And I remember coming down. This is 1,000 years ago in the '90s, and I come down because I knew he was in town. I thought, I'll stop by and say hi because I've known Doug off and on for years. And I come down, turn the corner. He's on stage, like right in the middle. He's like, so anyway, yeah, so this midget is down there, and they got my balls. Fulton, get up here and tell a joke. Come on, you fucker, get up here and tell. Right in the middle. And people are like, what the fuck? So I grabbed drinks, went on stage. There was another comic named James Inman. He was in the crowd. So the three of us got on stage and just started swapping road stories. And it was just one of those really great kind of moments, you know?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and so then he started doing shows about road stories and stuff. But yeah, there was, and the last time I actually went and saw him in London, which was quite a while ago, he knew I was there in the crowd. It was at the Soho Theater, which is like at the time like 160 seat or something like that. And he went, I think he did 5 nights and sold them all out. So we went out later with him, got some drinks, went to a friend of mine's pub that I knew he would be open on a Sunday night, you know, because of the, and so turned him on to that but yeah, it's my big thing is I don't pay to see other comedians, if I can help it.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd rather just give him a text, go, hey, can I stop by? And I've tried to do that a few times with him when he's come through town, going, hey man, I'd love to see you. Anyway, you can sneak a brother in, and never got anything back. So
do you watch comedian specials on television?
No.
Never.
No. I'll catch bits and pieces of it. I have to admit though, no, I watched Chappelle's last one on Netflix, The Closer, because I want to see what the big hubbub was about. Okay. And I'm sorry, I don't see what the big deal is. I don't know why he's gotten all that backlash from that, because I'm ready for it. I'm like, okay, come on, show me the stuff that, not that I'll be offended, but I would understand why that would be offensive, right. This and that. I mean, with the punchline Space Jews, I thought that would have had more backlash, but it didn't. And then I heard from people in the LGBTQ plus community who were saying the story about him being friends with somebody who was a trans. Oh, he made that up just to try to appease this. And you're like, at that point, I don't believe he made it up at all. And and I know Jeff Wills, who works for Live Nation, who's his tour manager, and I haven't heard anything, so you just like. Because what happens now is people come into a comedy club with their own agenda, and if you kind of push that a bit, they kind of like, oh, what's happening here, But it was like somebody's telling me what Louis C.K. says. When you go to a comedy club, you've essentially signed an unseen contract that, comedy is going to happen. This is not meant to offend you.
People need to be reminded
and
of
attack
that sometimes, apparently. But
so I have just no patience for that at all anymore. I just know. Yeah, just get out, go away.
Yeah. No.
So, and also because when you live in Europe, and you do these shows in front of people who have lived through stories about Nazis. I mean, real fucking Nazis kicking the door in and taking their shit, or their relatives away. And so, when you're like, I'm offended, kind of thing, and you're like, I can't believe the government's doing this. I'm like, well, they're not kicking your fucking door in, are they? Really? Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway.
Love it. Living over there, I want to know, is there anything that you never get used to, like that's different over there? You're just like, I wish it was like it was back in the United States.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, lockdown showed the world that they're going to die. That's what COVID did. COVID brought all that right to the forefront. We all know we're going to die, but COVID went, you're going to die. You could die, and it's not going to be on your terms, and you're not going to have any control into it. And that's kind of how life runs. And that freaked a lot of people out. I mean, especially here in the States. So they got their guns, and they were complaining about not getting haircuts, and masks don't work, and all that, all that shit. All that, and it was all fear-based. It wasn't about freedom. It was all fucking fear. Now, there was protests, anti-mask protests, things like that in London, but it never got any oxygen. They never covered it. They're like, go away, right? And we weren't allowed to leave our house for more than an hour, all that. So as a result, a lot of people did inventory in their lives. And for me, I got into stand-up comedy because it was a great job and it allowed me the freedom to go rock climbing and ice climbing and snowboarding. so suddenly I can't do comedy because of this virus, but I can't go climbing. I can't leave the house. I can't go anywhere. I can't do all the things that would fill my soul and make me feel complete. And so you're like, wow, right? So you start missing this stuff, because my friends back in Idaho were like, yeah, COVID sucks. Where are you today? Oh, we went hiking. Oh yeah, we went climbing. And you're like, oh man, right? So I miss the mountains. I miss that.
Yeah, outdoor recreation. Had
Yeah.
a boom in the last couple of years.
Oh yeah. People, they're still back ordering bicycles in London because people just went nuts for bicycles. And
sure.
Yeah, and fortunately, I live a 5-minute walk from Richmond Park, which is like 3,000 acres, 2 herds of deer. It's where Henry VIII used to hunt deer and deflower handmaidens. So that was, that helped a lot. And riding motorcycles. Motorcycles is my big outlet. So I have 6 motorcycles. They're old bikes. I restore them. I work on them. That helped. But I was homeschooling my son, who's 9, because my wife is an essential worker, and I would rather pull teeth out of a fucking tiger in a cage. I mean, it was just like, holy shit balls, right? And so that was tough. And of course he suffered from that as well, from his dad trying to teach him.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be scars. But yeah, it was that. So the things I miss about America, I miss silly things. I miss frosted brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts, cream of wheat, tapioca pudding, Nathan hot dogs, Jew dogs. They're the best, man. They're the best.
I watch the hot dog eating contest every year.
Oh, yeah.
And, most people watch that and get disgusted. I'm like, those hot dogs look so good.
They look so great.
They're so good.
So great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I miss that aspect of the freedom thing.
Interesting.
The petrol prices. I mean, we had to spike in petrol. Everybody's complaining because they're paying like $5.50 a gallon here or something like that.
I never got above 5 in here, but yeah,
it hit
it definitely went up.
It hit $10 a gallon in London. Woo. Yeah, and so that was tough. Yeah, there's that. But the and the thing is when you talk to any expat who lives abroad, and you ask them, what do you miss about America? It's always the stuff that's not there anymore. They're a little more nostalgic about it. I mean, I miss Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where I grew up, because it was a great place to grow up. But that place doesn't exist anymore because it's full of people from Orange County and Texas who came up there and with their, let's go Brandon flags and fuck this and the Trump flags and
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And they shown up, and the first thing you do is they buy a gun and they walk around town and they're strapped up. And I remember in the 70s seeing a guy, with a revolver, and everybody went, well, he's an idiot. Now people are just walking around with him. And if you're around all the time, I ask, does it bother you? I'm like, yeah, you just kind of go, like, wow. Because I took gun courses, see the weapon courses, and they're always told you have to make the decision that you've already pulled the trigger. When you grab it, and when it's out, you've already pulled the trigger. But these guys are like, get out of my parking spot, that kind of shit.
Oh.
And they have no... A friend of mine is a sommelier. She was working at a health food restaurant, and this guy comes in. He's got a MAGA hat on. He's got the gun on. But, she's like, whatever, right? You obviously moved up here in the last couple of years. You spent 3 times more for a house than you should have. You fucked everybody in town by jacking up prices like this, so nobody can buy a house in town like they used to. But so she's like, these are great wines. This is a great wine, this and that. And so, she's talking to her for about 20 minutes, she told me. And then she does it. She eyeballs the gun and smiles and leans in and goes, "Are you expecting some trouble in produce?" Which is hilarious. And his reaction was like, "Fine, I don't have to put up with this shit," and just walks out. And that's a problem. Yeah. And so, yeah, I miss, I miss American democracy, which is gone. It's gone. Yeah. I mean, the shades of doubt are there.
You still come back a couple times a year?
Yeah, I've got property in Idaho, so I come back and check on it, and I would love to have a place I can come back to, and hang out in, or I don't know if I'd Airbnb it maybe, but just have it free and clear.
Yeah, you gotta do that.
So there still is there's that remote chance. I mean, I've got a motorcycle and a couple cars and in my storage unit, and I still come back and climb, and so. Yeah, we'll see.
So, I always go back to and I'll look and see, like, is there any interesting stories from somebody's hometown, right?
But I have, my wife and I, we have a house in London, We have a house that was built in 1873. It's called an end of terrace house, and it's 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths with a garage, really small garden, and we owe like this much, and it's worth like this much.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome. The biggest. So I was going to say that last time you were here, I think I looked it up, and in Coeur d'Alene, the biggest news was there was some pizza controvery. I don't remember exactly what it was. The biggest story, sick crimes. I'm not going to bring that stuff up. Is that the actress Reese Witherspoon?
yes.
She was recently spotted in a bookstore in Coeur d'Alene.
Oh man,
That's the end of the story.
North Idaho is crazy. When I was home in 2019. In March of 2019, I went back, went snowboarding, ice climbing with some friends of mine. And my lawyer buddy, who I've known since he was 12, his name's Rich Cook. And he goes, oh, this and that. And I go, what's all these famous people?
Rich Cook sounds like a job. I'm sure I said that to him.
Yeah.
Right?
And he goes, have you been out to Coeur d'Alene Airport lately? And I'm like, why would I go out there? And he's like, go out there and check it out, right? So we go out there, and there's all these Gulfstream jets lined up. And I'm like, who has it? So the people that have places in North Idaho, north of Moscow, Idaho, which is within 150, 180 miles of the Canadian border. Tom Cruise, Oprah Winfrey, who is it?
I saw pictures. The Kardashians have
a place.
there.
Lance Armstrong has a place. What's his nose? The old quarterback from the Denver Broncos. Elway has a place there.
Mark Wahlberg, I saw.
Wahlberg, yeah.
Vacationing.
Adam, whatever, the lead singer from Maroon 5, whatever, he's got a place. So I guess he's a total asshole.
Oh.
Also the oh God, I can't remember. He's an amazing actor. He was in it'll come to me in a minute, but he's been up in Bonners Ferry for so long that people up there keep an eye on him. They're like, hey, such and such here, and they're like, oh, no, kind of thing. Yeah, there's a lot of stars that moved up there. And my buddy who's an architect, Sam Rodell, who's an amazing fucking architect. I asked, born and raised in North Idaho, and I said, man, did you ever think this place was going to blow up like this? And he goes, no. What amazes me is it took so long. I'm like, wow, because you used to be able to buy a cabin on the lake in 1975 for $16,000. Now, they'll just tear the place down and put up, houses. And my buddy Tom, who's a realtor, we were back home last summer. We took on his bike, went around. He's like, yeah, that's 4.1. Now it's 6.2. That's $8 million. Oh, but down there, it's Lance Armstrong place. Kardashians are there. It's $11 million. That's $12 million. This place is 42,000 square foot on this lake.
On a lake, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we clearly need to somehow find the next hot spot. I don't know where it is.
I don't know either. The thing is Montana. There's a lot of places. Montana's kind of blown up in that. And places around Idaho, there's Ponderay Lake, which is a way bigger, way cooler lake that's blown up. But I don't know, man. You know what I would do? I would talk to gay people, because gay people always seem to find really cool places to live, and they look after their shit, man. So I mean, you think about it. Florida, Fire Island. San Francisco,
sure.
And the time that was some cool places, that's gone nuts now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I would talk to gay people, find out where they're moving to.
Why not? Why not? We only do about a half hour now, Dave, so we got to put a bow on this thing.
Oh, yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to get off your chest? You would want to promote or mention or anything? Keep an eye out for?
I have a series of short films. It's packaged called Bad Times. Yeah, it's on iTunes. That's there. I think I have some stuff on YouTube. I have a CD you can download on Amazon. I'm making another short film this fall. With this, that I'll be shooting in the UK.
Okay. How about the book?
The book is funny because I started writing a book about because my son's adopted. I started writing a book about that journey, and it just got out of hand. And I turned that into a one-man show, which I wrote into a screenplay. Somebody optioned the idea, and now that's being shopped. I don't know what's going to happen with that. So, and then in the meantime, I've written a book. And because my family's been in America since prior to the American Revolution, and we always knew there was a family folklore about a relative who fought on the Union side of the Civil War, and he didn't like it, so he impersonated a woman and deserted his unit. And that's all we know. So I've taken that premise and just kind of expanded on it. So he deserts his unit, he puts on a dress, doesn't take it off, befriends a runaway slave, and they make their way out west. Now, I've done like 5 rewrites on this thing. A buddy of mine's reading it now. And I said, so what do you think? And he goes, well, I've read the first page. It reads like a screenplay. And I went, is that bad? You know? He goes, well, it reminds me of Michael Crichton. So I'm like, okay. So the goal is to get that done and get it out there, and because I think it's an original story. And
wow, good luck with that. So I saw the title. I think you posted it on
Blue
social
Dress.
media. Now it makes sense.
Blue Dress.
Now it makes
that's
sense.
What it's about. Yeah. So
wow.
So we'll see. So in the meantime, yeah, and I'm building another motorcycle, and hope to get some more climbing done, and just it's great. I woke up this morning. Well, I woke up at 3:30 this morning, but I was walking around today, and I just really felt the great thing about this town and this club is you can kind of exhale. Right, you know, doesn't matter what's going to happen on stage tonight or whatever. I could get booed off. It's fine. It's just kind of, you just kind of go, you know, yeah. And there's not enough places like that out there for comedians, you know. And but it's cool that this place is, you know.
That's all.
Unfortunately, those are the only places I work now. I mean, really. I mean, there's Glasgow, Edinburgh, Oslo, Norway. You know, a Top Secret comedy club in London.
Oh, I've heard good things about that.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, Top Secret's great.
Yeah. So that you heard it from Dave Fulton here. If he's here, he's relaxed. You're gonna get the most natural act that you can find here.
And I brought Lewis more whiskey, and I'm drinking. I got a Scotch blended whiskey called Sheep Dip. I got some, so if you want to try some later, we can.
Oh, there we go. All right. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Justin.